Sometimes when I make a short film, I get that little voice in the back of my head that tells me I'm not good enough. But then Thunder Force came along and completely destroyed that negative thinking because it shows anyone can make it in the film world. You don't even need skill, creativity, care. You just need to get rid of your dignity and then get Netflix to back you. If I just wanted to get rich from filmmaking, it would be the most effortless job in the world. Just to prove it, here's the logline to something I've just made up. Linda Bishop is a widow in a struggling home during World War II. To feed her family, she signs up for a super soldier program where she gets injected with super serum and becomes Ms. Britannia. But being Ms. Britannia comes at a price when she attempts to take down Nazis and their secret leader, Redface. Obviously that's just the plot of Captain America but with a woman and enough changes to get around the law. But if Thunder Force can use every superhero trope and cliche, then why can't I? Fuck it! The film opens in a comic book style like Ang Lee's Hulk, and we get a narration about where superpowers come from. It's some sort of space ray that only affects sociopaths like this angry baby. And it also means in this version of Earth, Jake Paul is an even bigger knobhead. It's then revealed Octavia Spencer's parents were killed by one of these superpowered arseholes, which is the template origin story for superheroes. Now we're in an American school, which already looks so fake. Where are all the armed guards and bullet holes? There's the introduction of the two main characters when they were young, one smart and sensible while the other is dumb and a bit of a misfit. It's the typical buddy cop setup, quite similar to Lethal Weapon. You've also got to see the nerdy one get bullied, because every American film that has a nerd in a school requires a bit of bullying.
You suck.
That's hardly an insult. When I was younger, bullying was a lot more inventive. I got sung at. They'd sing Perry the Perving Pikey to the tune of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, and to this day, neither I or the people that sung the song knew why the fuck that became a thing or even how. More bullying ensues, she butts in, now they've become two unlikely friends. They're so friendly, they get cliche bracelets, friendship bracelets. Skip ahead 5 years and we have a pointless dinner table scene where nothing happens, then the characters are back at school. Then they introduce this character that can only be described as poon repellent.
If you can't tell a joke, you'll never get a lady. That's just factual.
Challenge accepted.
This got me thinking, he's clearly going to come back into the plot as one of the bad guys with the power of excreting lotions from his hand when he talks about anime, since you wouldn't just introduce a character that has zero relevance to the plot. No, that's exactly what they did. He shows up less than 10 minutes later, adding nothing to the story. The two of them argue because the smart one is too smart for this dumb town full of dummies, and bam, friendship over. 2.5 minutes of screen time after the bracelet was put on, it got ripped off, which begs the question, what was the point of that? Which is kind of a theme in this film. All of this could have been revealed in dialogue, like Melissa McCarthy finishes up her container moving job, then heads to a diner to stuff her face with loads of biscuits, and since she's always stuffing her face at this diner, she's good friends with the bloke that works there, who she spills her beans to. Removes all that pointless filler, plus you don't need to go out and find young actors that look like your present day cast. The teen versions look nothing like them. Melissa McCarthy looks too pampered and more like the kind of person you'd find being bitchy in a call centre rather than down at the container place getting pissed. And Octavia Spencer has quite a unique face that I don't think many people have, except my friend's mum, but she's white, which is really confusing. But what's weirder is the teen versions look very similar to the even younger versions, to the point where I thought they might have just used some aging VFX like in The Irishman. But then even weirder is when you realise that this is Melissa McCarthy's daughter, so this random teenager bears a bigger resemblance to her than her own mother. What a mindfuck! Though it does explain why we see the younger versions of them. Ben Falcone, the writer/director, is her dad. This is genius, because if you're going to write something as eloquent as the shit scrawled on walls by a mental patient, then you might as well make sure your whole family's profiting from it. Oh, that was a bit weird. This is how the film introduces you to one of the main villains. But what's wrong with this scene?
Be on the lookout for a black pickup truck.
Well, besides its sheer pointlessness as we don't learn anything about her except she exists, it also weakens the threat as they treat this encounter like it's a nuisance. Melissa just calmly walks away like, oh, that was a bit annoying, I had to move slightly more than usual. Then in the next scene you can see her on the front of the newspaper where it looks like she's posing for the camera. And her name's Laser. Oh, we need a name for the woman who shoots lasers out of her hands. What about Laser? Sure, who gives a shit? Certainly not Ben Falcone. The bloke who owns this cafe asks about Octavia Spencer, and Melissa McCarthy says she no longer talks to her, which obviously we already know. So instead of talking about the repetitive dialogue, I'm just going to jump ahead 10 minutes because there's so little to talk about, I don't even have any material for jokes. Melissa has met up with Octavia in a massive Stark Tower building and is currently in a waiting room that coincidentally has an unattended, unlocked laboratory attached to it. Anyone can write a film if their characters are like this, because it's a lot easier to write plot when one of your characters is as thick as the mucus that gets lodged in the back of my throat. Because then the question, why does this happen, can always be answered with, well, she's an idiot. Case in point, why does she go into a lab, fiddle with all the high-tech equipment, then slump down onto what is obviously not a massage chair because it's in a lab? Oh, because she's an idiot. Although that excuse doesn't really work for why does this lab not have any security controls, and it can be easily mistakenly operated by someone with the intelligence of a brain-damaged magpie. It was only your life's work that went into making this Captain America-style super serum that now needs to be pumped into her, otherwise she'll shrivel up and die. Which, sure, very sad if that happens, but if she did die, we wouldn't have to suffer the next scene, which I will show almost in its entirety.
You want to tell me who Urkel is?
What's an Urkel?
Not what's an Urkel, who's an Urkel? It's Urkel's Urkel. Tell her who Urkel is. How do you not? Oh my God. You got glasses and suspenders, and you seem super smart.
Let me search.
You know who Urkel is.
How do you spell that?
You spell it Urkel. Are you kidding? Did I do that? Right? Does that ring up? Did I do that? Did I do that? You know that. Did I do that?
What the fuck was that? I don't even know how to take the piss out of this. It's too easy to say they are stealing from other films and TV, because they are. It's just like picking on a mentally handicapped person. It's just not right. It just keeps going and going. I felt like I got stuck in a cringy black hole. They follow it up with a bit about Jodie Foster, and it's just the same shit again. The only way I can make sense of this scene is if it was revealed whenever I got to this point of the film, someone would jump out and hit me on the head with a shovel, because the only reasonable way it could get into an actual film is if I imagined it. Or it's just further proof anyone that is able to string a few sentences together that don't have to make sense can make a film. We now steal from Rocky with a 10-minute long training montage that consists of groin injury, falling over, and eating raw chicken. I don't know why, but I've seen lots of horror films that have extremely grotesque violence, but none of them made me feel as repulsed as I did while watching her chow down on raw chicken. This is also a gag that they repeat throughout the film, and yes, that pun was totally intended because I really wanted to get across how fucking gross I felt after experiencing that filth. It felt more sickening than watching porn with your family. We are 40 minutes into the film, and our two heroes have their obligatory slow motion walk towards camera while suited up, which feels like quite a long time, but it's actually quicker than Captain America getting his suit. Why does this feel so agonisingly slow? Because nothing has happened. Prologue to show these two becoming friends, then they're not friends, then they're friends again, training montage. For anyone who's struggling with writing a script somehow coming across this video, you should learn from this film because it shows you don't even need things to happen for Netflix to greenlight your project.
Netflix, you're greenlit. Who am I speaking with?
Maybe that's Ben Falcone's superpower. He can sell anything, in which case thank God he's in the film business instead of scamming my elderly relatives into buying pointless things that nobody needs. Though what are the powers that make up Thunder Force? Melissa has super strength plus seems to be indestructible, and Octavia can go invisible. I'm not sure I would have picked her to have that power because what can an out of shape old woman do with that ability? I could beat her up if I wanted to, and I have to go to the gym so I can look normal rather than a Holocaust survivor. I guess that's why they armed her with a taser, but doesn't that really sound lame? Give her some pepper spray and a whistle, then she can become the night watcher who watches over women while they walk home at night, protecting them from drunk men. It's two of the most boring powers you could have picked that get used in the most generic ways possible. Here's the two of them fighting a gang that is led by Jason Bateman, who has crab pincers for arms. Why, I hear you ask? Because Melissa McCarthy likes food, of course. Let's watch them put their powers to good use. See how unimaginative that fight was? Punches, throws, whatever this was, because I don't know what kangarooing is, and even slowing it down, I'm not sure exactly what happened. But where was Octavia in this fight? Oh, pushing over crisps. Good job. I think I might have skipped ahead to some sort of special feature thing. Oh no, it's just an imaginary dance number in the middle of a fight, in an attempt at humour. Isn't it genius? Like, why would you bother trying to write clever, witty dialogue when you can just fill a minute of screen time with a pointless dance scene? Just like in the Minions movie. Maybe I should start doing pointless nonsense, because it clearly works to get ahead in life. Maybe I should start singing in the middle of a video. Stop! Who are you? I'm your dignity. You look like a knobhead. You should stop this right away. He's right. I don't even care about money, fame, poontang. I should get back to ripping on this obvious cash grab. Hey look, it's Ben Falcone getting paid to be an actor in his film. He's the next Tyler Perry, by which I mean shit. He gets aggressively tasered by the good guys, which gets caught on film and looks really bad, but there's no ramifications that impact our characters at all because it was just a cheap gag. Good job the skin colours weren't the other way around, as that would look really bad. Now for the first proper introduction of the main bad guy. He was shown earlier on TV, but who gives a shit about that because it doesn't really matter. He does the old explain his plans spiel, like I need to become mayor of the city and I promise to save everyone from bad guys. But nobody would need me if we have superheroes, so I gotta kill these old bitches or just scare them and whatnot. Then he hugs a dude to death menacingly. God, I'm frightened now. The only way they could have topped that is if he went in for a slobbery kiss like one of your creepy relatives. They have their meet up where he explains his plans some more, and that's all that happens there. Nothing noteworthy to add. Nothing in the next scene, just lesbian jokes, then nothing in the next scene, just selfie joke. When I say jokes, I mean attempts, obviously. Not much in the next scene, just Ben Falcone dying, which doesn't matter. But we do learn that the bad guy has lost the election, which means Lightbeam Hand Woman can go after Thunder Force in an epic battle. Wow, these effects are great. Look at that amazingly well done jump and this bust that looks like something I could have animated, once again showing anyone can make a film.
We do apologize for interrupting this video, but unfortunately Perry has reached the limit for that joke, and repeating it will only ruin its impact. If he tries to do it again, he'll get tased in the balls.
What's going on with this today? Anyway, the bus throwing.
Dads, that lady just threw a bus.
That was a joke, by the way, and the punchline is the girl has two dads. I just wanted to point that out because it was so out of place and feels a little bit like they needed to hit the gay quota. The bus throwing annoys Octavia because it shows Melissa to be irresponsible, which is a real shocker, isn't it? Who would have thought the lady who wanders into a lab and prods at science equipment is irresponsible? This splits their friendship apart, just like at the beginning. Oh, it's so poetic. And the next scene she forgives her. What's the point of introducing conflict between the characters if there are literally zero consequences? Imagine any other show doing this with their good storylines. Imagine if the show Invincible went like this. Who killed the Not Justice League? I did. Okay. It renders these two scenes completely useless, and it could have been used as a story device to give these characters a hurdle to get over to make their story mildly interesting. These are two of the most boring characters I've ever seen in a film. There's so little to say about them. Like, all I've got is she's reckless and fat. She's smart and has a daughter, which isn't even a trait. Why bother writing interesting characters when you can just have people with the personality of damp cardboard? Proof again that anyone can make a— my balls! I have such a disdain for this film, it's hurting my genitals. And while we're on the topic of genitalia, Melissa is wanting to stick some crab in hers. Yes, she's on a date with Crabman and he tells her the origins of his powers, which was being bitten by a radioactive crab on his testicles, vis-a-vis Spider-Man, which doesn't really make sense because of how they establish where powers come from. That doesn't really line up with space laser that affects sociopaths, unless the crab was a sociopath and had the power of giving humans crab arms if it bit their spunk sack. Melissa asks if he's a miscreant, which is what they call the bad guys with superpowers, and the word has really become part of the day-to-day in conversations, like how Netflix is part of normal conversations. But Jason Bateman calls himself a half-Korean, which Melissa mishears for half-Korean. This joke would make sense if they weren't in the middle of a conversation about him being a miscreant or not. It's like if I was to ask you, do you watch Netflix? And you said, yes, I do watch Netflix. And then I reply, what? You watch vet dicks? See, it doesn't work at all. Plus the joke stinks. They then bond over their shared love for raw chicken, and she rubs butter into his crab claw. In the next scene, the two of them chat about the date that we just saw, show more of the crab and large woman sexy time, then repeat the half Korean joke because it fucking stuck the landing the first time. She then reveals that the main bad guy plans to blow up a building with everyone in it, and they start plotting their rescue. I would have just called in a bomb threat that would get the building evacuated, and I would have done it before all the important people got inside. She found out this information during the day, had gross sex, presumably went to sleep because Octavia Spencer is wearing a different outfit now, woke up the next morning, headed down to Thunder Force HQ, then they plotted the rescue plan for the evening. Should have just called it in, unless Thunder Force are the true villains taking away jobs from the poor bomb disposal unit while simultaneously putting the lives of hundreds at risk. Their master plan is to go through the back doors, which nobody would ever expect, except Brightfingers, because it turns out that lady who works for Thunder Force that nobody gives a shit about because she doesn't do anything, she's working for the bad guys. She gets bonked on the head immediately immediately eliminating that threat. Octavia then lightly punches the whoosh crikey laser woman because that's all she's good at. Then Melissa throws a bin at her, which is presumably symbolism of Netflix throwing a bin full of discarded shit at the audience. Then nothing happens for a bit, because of course not. Why bother filling your film with interesting stuff when you can cram it with nothing? Finally we get to the big fight, which is boring since it consists of lame powers, again used in lame ways, performed by out of shape old people. The only thing noteworthy is this flying headbutt because it looks stupid, and Melissa using this support beam to whack the bad guy. I only bring that one up to outline how irresponsible this superhero team is, as that would have brought down the whole ceiling, since it's load bearing. Anyway, they found a bomb that they need to figure out how to get rid of since there isn't enough time to defuse. The daughter, who is there because she has super speed and came along to help out, says she can run with it to get it out of the city, but unfortunately they don't know how stable the bomb is. And because it's so unstable, Melissa has to do a self-sacrifice where she runs and then bursts through a window into a river where it explodes. Why does she need to go with the bomb? Does her body really absorb that much of the impact? Is that just another fat joke this man wrote about his wife? She could have just fucking thrown it into space. If it's stable enough to be used to break through a window, then it's stable enough to be hurled into the atmosphere. Also, how god-awful is that explosion? I'm fairly certain these are dirt particles, which you wouldn't get in a water explosion, and I'm only saying fairly certain because it's so hard to tell with the low resolution. I could make something better than that, but I'm not going to because I can't be bothered, and that fits the theme of this film. When I saw the trailer for this, I knew instantly what I was going to see, and it went straight onto my watch list for the purpose of making a video. I saw the poorly done bus and thought to myself, holy shit, you can't even be bothered to put good shots in the trailer. There's no excuse for modern big budget films to have crap CGI, and it really is just a sign of laziness. What is going on today? Melissa's bloated corpse gets pulled from the river and it's all very sad. Ah, now we know why she had to sacrifice herself, all for a gross out joke. All for 2 gross out jokes. There's only one way you can top something that brilliant: sexy raw chicken eating. Ugh. I'm sorry, I really thought I'd be able to say that without gagging like a germophobic whore, but this is fucking repulsive. I want to gouge my eyes out, like this is horrendous. Thank God it's over. What an abomination of a film. But one more slight observation to point out is the effect they've used here to give the comic book look. I'm pretty sure I used an app that gave the exact same effect for my Why Is Everyone Stupid video, once again proving that anyone can make a film.
Thunder Force is a good film made by a good writer-director. Melissa McCarthy is beautiful and not fat. Netflix is a great company that makes smart business decisions. Can I go home now? I really need a poo.